What is going on, guys? Today I'll be using this team with Rotom-Wash, KLINKLANG and Machamp at the Sword and Shield Battle Tower. But before we begin, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, it really helps me out. Thank you. So first off, we have our lead Pokemon Rotom-Wash. We're gonna teach it T-Wave to inflict paralysis, stab Hydro Pump for damage, and Volt Switch to pivot out. You can also substitute Dark Pulse for Will-O-Wisp or Pain Split for recovery. We give it the leftovers for consistent healing and invest in its health, defense, and a little bit of speed. Next, we have our setup sweeper KLINKLANG, which I didn't even know got a signature move in Gear Grind, which is a base 50 power steel move with 85 accuracy that hits twice, with no additional drawback. We teach it Substitute and Wild Charge, teach it Shift Gear to boost speed and attack, and we invest in its speed and attack for the most DPS possible. We also give it the Life Orb, so it loses a bit of health each turn but maximizes its attack. And next we have our high DPS unit Machamp, which is with its hidden ability No Guard. No Guard ensures all its attacks hit, including the base 100 power Dynamic Punch that also guarantees confusion. We teach it Knock Off for item removal, Poison Jab to hit fairy types, and Stone Edge to hit flying types. We give it the Focus Sash to survive a hit, and we invest in its attack and HP. So let's dive into our first battle against the schoolgirl. She sends out her Roserade, which, you know, it can hit us super effectively. I don't think I'm gonna stay in on that because I value Rotom-Wash quite a bit. And KLINKLANG is kind of a safe switch in. I don't think they can touch KLINKLANG. We resist both its stab and we are, immune to poison. So I switch out here and I go to no auto the KLINKLANG. So there are a few things I could do. I could go for a substitute, or I could just, set up in this thing's face. I'm a little bit scared of it having Stun Spore, but I actually just go for the T-Spikes. So I figured, that's okay. I was scared of Roserade outspeeding Rotom because we didn't have that much speed investment, so I just decided to switch. So now I go for the Shift Gear, which sharply raises our speed. And I don't think Stun Spore should really be a problem if they even have it. They actually greed and go for another layer of T-Spikes. And I figure we could actually just go for another Shift Gear since they probably can't hit us too hard. So I do go for that. So now our speed's at, I think, +4, and our attacks just as boosted as if we had used a Sword Stance. We go for a Razor Leaf, which, it doesn't do that much to us. And we go for the Gear Grind here. They protect, which I'm not sure why, probably scouting. So we go for the Gear Grind. So I'm just gonna do it again. I go for the Gear Grind, we hit it, and it does quite a lot because KLINKLANG has actually a pretty good attack stat, and even the base 50 power one-time hitting Gear Grind does just enough to knock out the Roserade. And they send in the Claydol, which kind of walls us. I don't think a Gear Grind knocks that thing out. Claydol is pretty bulky. Maybe it does. I'm not very sure. So I go back to the Rotom, Air Fryer, and they go for the Trick Room. So now we are in a little bit of trouble. But they actually reviewed the I'm not actually sure what item that is, but it drops their speed in Trick Room, which doesn't exactly matter because they already outspeed us. And they go for the Explosion, which is strange. I felt they could have gone for something like, I don't know, Calm Mind. They probably would have lived the Hydro. And Explosion doesn't even kill us. So now we are looking pretty good, 3-1. And we can heal up with our leftovers as well. So our Rotom is surprisingly bulky. And they go to their final Pokemon, which is Musharna. And because we have Dark Pulse, we can hit that thing super effectively even if you don't do that much. We go for the Psychic, they underspeed us, which means they go first in Trick Room, and that kills. So we don't get the Dark Pulse off unfortunately, but we do review their Life Orb. And here I just decided to go back to KLINKLANG, just output some damage and chip it down because this thing's pretty tanky. And hopefully Machamp can finish the job if KLINKLANG gets killed. So they go for the Psychic, which actually does over half to us. It's a really strong Musharna, and we're not the bulkiest either. But we do pretty okay damage to it. We do some of our HP and they're gonna outspeed us again. So they go for the Psychic, they're gonna take some Life Orb recoil, and our KLINKLANG goes down. I figure it should be okay. Machamp's pretty slow, yes, minimal speed investment. And the Trick Room ends, so we should outspeed that always. So we get they actually get poisoned by the T-spikes here, which doesn't break our Sash because poison only activates on like the second turn. So I do just rip a knockoff, and that's enough to KO the Musharna. So you can kind of see how this team works, and yeah, it's pretty fun. So let's go into our next match. Here we are in our next match against Nat yet again. So far he's appeared in every single one of the videos in this series, and he reviews his Duck Trio, which is, you know, typically you would have a good matchup, but we have Levitate. So yeah, Rotom-Wash is really good, only having one weakness, and I just decided to go for the Hydro Pump. They actually decide to set up in the face of a Rotom-Wash, which is not a very smart move. And we hit our Hydro Pumps. It's one of the rarer occasions where we don't miss this move. It should be a one-hit KO. It doesn't have a Focus Sash. The Duck Trio goes down. They send out their Arctovish, and yeah, I've seen what these things can do, and I'm a little bit scared, so I'm just gonna Vault Switch out. Probably into my Klinklang or Machamp. Our Vault Switch actually does quite a bit to this Arctovish. So I lock in the Klinklang. I'm wondering if there's some sort of coverage move, but they just go for Fisher's Rend, which is kind of crazy. It's like they read me. And you know, since they move first, Fisher's Rend is a one-hit KO onto our Klinklang. So it kind of sucks that we lose Klinklang like this. But you know, Machamp should outspeed this thing. I don't think this fossilized fish is very fast. So I'm just gonna go for a super effective Dynamic Punch over here, and that should do the job. So sure enough, we do outspeed this thing even with our base 55 speed and low speed investment, and the Arctovish goes down. So they go to their final Pokemon, which is Frostlass, and you know, that thing could have like, I don't know, Destiny Bond. Shadow Ball isn't a KO. Even if they have like, you know, max special attack, choice specs or whatever, we have the Focus Sash to survive a hit, and they go for the spikes. A bit greedy because now we can just knock off. No Sash either. And the Frostlass goes down. So yeah, pretty fast game, and we get a victory. And here we are in our next match against Kabitosh. He sends out his Bisharp, which is, you know, not a great matchup, but not a horrible matchup. I'm thinking I could just go for a T-Wave on this thing, and maybe Vault Switch out on the next turn, you know, pivot to Machamp and land a super effective Dynamic Punch after cutting this thing's speed. So I do go for the T-Wave, thankfully we hit it. So this Bisharp is now paralyzed. And they hit through paralysis and get the Night Slash, which, you know, doesn't do that much to Rotom. Rotom is surprisingly bulky. And I really like its shiny colors. Actually does look like a rice cooker or an air fryer. So we Vault Switch out. Let's go to this Korean Machamp that I got from a trade. Then they go for another Night Slash, which, you know, doesn't do that much to us because it's not very effective, and now we outspeed it. So we go for the Dynamic Punch here, and that is enough to KO. So I'm thinking whatever they switch into, I can probably just get a knockoff on. And they go to Gyarados, which is kind of scary because that thing outspeeds us and it can one-hit KO with Hurricane since our Sash is broken. So I decide, let's go to Klinklang and let's hopefully get a Wild Charge off. No, we could die to recoil, but at least we trade, you feel me? So they go to Hurricane, and that does quite a bit, but thankfully does not confuse us. So I'm thinking I could Wild Charge, but I could also go for Shifty on the switch, so I decided to predict a switch, but they don't switch. They actually go for the Hydro Pump, and I'm thinking, oh no, Klinklang is cooked. We have 0 defensive investments, but we do live. So yeah, that's really good, and now our attack is boosted, and we outspeed this thing by quite a bit. I can just rip a Wild Charge. 4 times super effective, they don't switch, Gyarados goes down. Overall, not a bad trade. We lose Klinklang, but we get rid of a pretty core component of the opponent's team. Like, you never want to be losing your Gyarados when your opponent has one Pokemon advantage. And they go to the final Pokemon, which is Delibird. And guess what? We can hit this thing 4 times super effectively with our Stone Edge if we outspeed it. And you know, Delibird has pretty poor stats. I'm not sure if we outspeed it still, but actually go for the Hail, no Brave Bird, which is, you know, surprising. And since we have no guard, our Stone Edge is always gonna hit. So a bit of a misplay from them, but I'll take the victory. So we are here in like our 4th match against Arthas Hardy. He sends out his Bronzong, which I'm not sure if Rotom can handle. But I don't really think it can touch us either because, you know, we are incredibly bulky. Bronzong isn't the best special attacker. Even if you give it Calm Mind, it's gonna take a few turns to set up. So I just decide to go for the super effective Dark Pulse over here. Just get some damage, hopefully flinch this thing as well. And surprisingly, that does about half to the pretty bulky Bronzong. And they go for the Trick Room. So now we are gonna get outsped by everything on their team if they have a slow team. They go for the Zen Headbutt. I'm hoping this doesn't flinch. And it doesn't flinch, but it actually crits us. And surprisingly, you know, crit from physical Bronzong doesn't even put us in under 50 HP. But we don't kill that thing either. So I'm guessing we got a high roll on the first turn. So now I could just, you know, Dark Pulse again, or I could Volt Switch. Volt Switch, go to another Pokemon. You know, maybe go to my Machamp. Hopefully they don't flinch us. I could Volt Switch into my Machamp and knock out this Bronzong and then knock off something with Machamp. So I do end up doing that. Air Fryer goes back, and we send out our Lime Green Machamp. They do send out Clefable, but the thing is we have the perfect coverage move for that, and we also have the Focus Sash to endure, like, I don't know, a Moonblast. So I do go for the Poison Jab, and it's a 2-hit kill, which is nice. They go for the Moonblast, which, you know, knocks us down to Sash range. Doesn't really matter because I don't think Clefable is any sort of priority. They lose some of its HP revealing the Life Orb, but this thing is done for. We outspeed it. Go for the Poison Jab again. And that's Clefable down. And you go to the final Pokemon, which is Ferrothorn. So Trick Room ends, which means we should outspeed this thing. You know, we could die to Iron Barbs, but I also want to get some nice damage off. And they get confused, which is cool. So we die to Iron Barbs as expected, and I want to see what they go for. Maybe Leech Seed or something? I don't know. Stealth Rock. Okay, so they get their hazards. They're gonna, you know, do a bit of chip to us. And I'm just gonna go to our healthiest Pokemon, KLINKLANG, and just get a Gear Grind, which should hopefully kill this thing. We take Iron Barbs damage 2 times, but it's perfectly fine. Yeah, and they actually have the Rocky Helmet as well, so 2 Gear Grinds will knock this Ferrothorn out, but it also chip us down to like, I think 50% HP, which is kind of crazy. 40%, something like that. But overall, KLINKLANG is proving itself to be a really reliable setup sweeper. It's not the bulkiest, but it actually does quite a bit of damage. It's nothing to scoff at. So yeah, it may have fallen to 0 in Sword and Shield, but it doesn't mean it can't be good in the Battle Tower. And you should also try to, you know, play these sort of underrated Pokemons online. I'm leaving the team description in the video description, so if you want, you can go check that out. I decided to go for the Volt Switch here because they could go for like a Wood Hammer. And here I'm contemplating between going to KLINKLANG or Machamp. So, because KLINKLANG resists Wood Hammer, but I just decided to go to Machamp. We should outspeed that thing. We should live a Wood Hammer. and we can knock it off to finish it off. And what's annoying is they go for the Will-O-Wisp. Will-O-Wisp into Rotom is kind of crazy. They probably expected a switch. And now we are burned, which cuts our damage output, which is annoying, but I just decided to go for the knockoff. Now I value this knockoff, and they switch. So they're not taking this knockoff. They're gonna go into Shiinotic, which, you know, resists it. But we knock off a berry. Here I'm wondering what they're gonna go for. I decided to just switch to KLINKLANG. We probably resist all of its moves. They could go for like Moonblast, I don't know. Do they have that? Dazzling Gleam maybe? They go for the Leech Seed, which, you know, it's gonna chip us down over time, heal them as well. Play those long animations. Also guys, we might have a collab video dropping soon, so our first collab video is gonna be pretty hype. So they go for a Dazzling Gleam now. I don't think that does much to us. Resisted damage, and we get our health sapped again. But, you know, we have our speed boosted, we have our attack boosted. And I'm wondering how much we do to this thing. Like, Gear Grind should be a KO, right? So I go for the Gear Grind. And crazily enough, one Gear Grind is all it takes. Just one base 50 power hit is all it takes to knock out this Shiinotic. With a little bit of attack boost, of course. And they go back to Trevenant. So I'm thinking I'm just gonna get my damage on this thing. You know, KLINKLANG's probably not gonna get that much value in the future because it can't really switch in on a hit. So it does get quite a bit of damage, but unfortunately not enough to knock it out. So I'm thinking we go down now. But we don't. They go for a Will-O-Wisp again, maybe predicting us to go to, I don't know, Rotom? We have no reason to go to Rotom. And we get seeded. So they're still healing while they're being chipped down by Will-O-Wisp, and here I'm hoping that Gear Grind kills it because, you know, having our move power cut is a bit problematic, but one Gear Grind is enough and the Trevenant goes down, which is great. I'm thinking we should go down to the burn and life orb, but we live on 2 HP. So shout out KLINKLANG, incredible Pokemon. Here I'm just gonna sack it. We're not gonna do that much, but it reviews Sucker Punch, so no chip on this Maractus. And I'm kind of wondering what this Pokemon could have. You know, I don't want to go to Rotom. It could have like, you know, Wood Hammer, which I don't want to take damage from. So let's just go to our Burn Machamp. Maybe you could knock it off. Maybe you could confuse it with Dynamic Punch. I decided to go for the Dynamic Punch first. Maybe confuse it and, you know, prevent it from moving for a few turns. They go for the Cotton Guard, which drastically raises their defense. So now we are burned and they have Cotton Guard, and I'm thinking, you know, this is going to be a pretty long game. So if we do confuse it successfully, and they review their leftovers, which is a little annoying. So now I'm thinking of knocking it off and maybe, you know, poison fishing with poison jab. So I do go for the knockoff. They go for a Sucker Punch, which does resisted damage to us. So we get rid of its leftovers here. No more healing for it. And yeah, I'm just gonna go for a poison jab. Super effective, probably not gonna do much. It snaps out of its confusion already, which is a little annoying, but we can work with that. Go for the poison jab. And that does literally nothing. After the burn and Cotton Guard defense raise. So I'm contemplating switching or going for the Dynamic Punch again. But I decide, you know, before I switch, I should go for the Dynamic Punch, hopefully confuse this thing, make it hit itself. So I do go for that. It does nothing as you expect. And at least we get the confusion. So they heal up, and now I'm thinking, you know, they could go for Sucker Punch again. They could go to like, I don't know, do they have Toxic? Maybe. So I just switch out here. Go back to our Rotom-Wash. And I'm thinking I could chip it down with a few Dark Pulses. We go for Spiky Shield actually. So thank goodness we didn't Poison Jab or attack into that, because that would have chipped us down even more. But go for the Dark Pulse. Just pretty bad damage. But we flinch it, so now this thing has to hit through flinch, confusion, and T-Wave. So it gets confused, it hits itself, and we go for T-Wave. So now we can... I don't really think this Maractus can touch us. We are not seeded either, so we can just keep chipping it down with our Rotom. Goes for the spiky shield, doesn't matter, it no longer has leftovers, it can't heal, it's just stalling out turns. Go for it again. And I'm thinking 2 more Dark Pulses should kill, right? So it snaps out of its confusion and oh no, it goes for a lead sheet. So yeah, this is kind of a long game. You can skip to the end, because there are no more battles after this one. This is the final one. But if you're interested in seeing how this ends, you can just, bear with me for a while. So to go for the Sucker Punch, which doesn't do much to us because of how bulky we are, you can just heal out of that range with leftovers. And yeah, after this, another Dark Pulse should do the trick and you can secure a win. Get our health sapped. Go for the Dark Pulse. He gets paralyzed. I'm hoping this kills, and surely enough, it does the job against this really irritating Maractus. And yeah, that's it. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and check out the team in description. Thank you. Bye.